Welcome back to iiKnows. Today we're going to be talking about NFL news and anything recent really in the NFL.
We're gonna
yeah.
go ahead and start out with the firing of Mike McCarthy. What were your personal thoughts on that?
I thought it was a move that most Packer fans have probably been wanting to have happen this season because of how bad it's been. And to me, personally, I don't think it's all been Mike McCarthy's fault to why their season has been so dismal. I know last year Packers fans were screaming head to toe that once Aaron Rodgers comes back, they're going to be Super Bowl contenders and everything like that. So I can tell that they had a bunch of these goals that Mike McCarthy didn't meet.
They had high expectations for the season.
And they were supposed to be so much better because they got Jimmy Graham, but Jimmy Graham's been aging, and
He hasn't been the same since he left New Orleans anyways. I don't know why people still have these high expectations of him being a 1,000-yard receiver again. He's not going to be that again.
Yeah. But to go along with that, what they needed to do was fire their GM. Their GM has had them in the gutter with talent-wise for a long time.
Yeah.
And how can you blame Mike McCarthy for this? His offensive schemes may be boring at times, but they're not terrible.
They're still effective.
Yeah,
to a certain extent.
I mean, I don't know exactly the relationship that Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy has had, but to me, it seems like it's been all right, and they've been working well for the past years that they've been together.
Yeah, well, you talked about the relationship, and I think it's not necessarily a move that's a schematic move, but there are a lot of reports that Aaron Rodgers doesn't really respect Mike McCarthy and his decision-making, that he doesn't really listen to the play call. So I think it's less about changing the schematics and more of just getting someone who Aaron Rodgers will listen to, you know? Like, he has an ego with reason.
Yeah.
And so you need to get somebody in there that, even if they're not the best X's and O's guy, just someone that Aaron Rodgers is going to believe in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With this new age NFL, you kind of need more of like a fast-paced, high-octane offense, but it's a hybrid between NFL, like pro style, and college just air raid.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. So I think overall it'll be a good move for the Packers as long as they incorporate Aaron Rodgers in the hiring of the next guy, because if you hire somebody that you think is good but he doesn't care about, you're going to have the same issues and going to get the same results. You need to get somebody that Aaron Rodgers is going to buy into and he's going to work with instead of against.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Aaron Rodgers in the NFL right now, he's kind of like LeBron James.
Yeah.
He has a slight ego, and whatever he wants really goes.
A little passive-aggressive.
Yeah. And he really controls what the team does and calls because he's given all the permission to make checks at the line.
Especially in a place like Green Bay where there's no ownership group, he's the highest paid guy within the franchise at every level. Mm-hmm. And whenever you have a quarterback who's your highest paid guy, this type of thing is bound to happen eventually.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the dysfunction in Green Bay has really come to fruition, and it's really been costly over the past few years.
Yeah. So, as far as with Green Bay, I think in the long run it should help them, depending on how they do the coaching search. But how does this affect Mike McCarthy? Do you think he'll coach in the NFL, and what happens from here for him?
Yeah, I believe that Mike McCarthy's fully going to be able to get another head coaching job, or if he wants to go be on a championship team and go be an offensive coordinator, that wouldn't be too bad either.
Yeah, there's been a lot of connections with the Browns and him because of the GM that the Browns have, and there are some former Packers players playing for the Browns. I think that might be a really good fit for Baker Mayfield. There are some similarities in play style between Baker Mayfield and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that could be a really good landing spot for him, or like you said, maybe a championship contender that hasn't really gotten their offense going, like the Vikings.
Yeah.
They could bring him in.
Huh, yeah, great. Just go steal from our rivals again.
Yeah. Hey, worked out in the past.
Yeah, with Brett Favre.
Yeah. All right, so next up we're going to go ahead and start talking about the Kareem Hunt situation. And my first question is not whether Kareem Hunt will play, because I believe he'll play again, but rather how does the loss of Kareem Hunt affect the Chiefs' Super Bowl chances?
Well, it greatly affects them because Kareem Hunt was basically their entire run game. They didn't feature Spencer Ware or Damian Williams at all, let alone who they're going to bring in now, Kendrick West. He knows their system, but that's not the point. Kareem Hunt is the focal point of that offense. You can say it's Patrick Mahomes or Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce, but really what gets that team going is the run game. Because a good Andy Reid offense always has a solid running back. Just go back and look at Brian Westbrook, LaShawn McCoy, for example. Those teams were always really good. But whenever you lose somebody like Kareem Hunt, who's a threat out of the backfield in the receiving game, to be Mahomes' check down, and he can also block pretty well, you're losing a big part of that offense. It's not going to bode well for the Chiefs in the long run.
Yeah, everything that the Chiefs do on offense, it comes from what Kareem Hunt is able to give them. All the big plays between Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes, that comes from Kareem Hunt being a factor in the run game, and linebackers and safeties having to give him the respect of having to come up and make plays at the line. Mm-hmm. And without him, Andy Reid has proven he can get running backs to produce. But there's a difference between running backs producing and running backs being a real threat to teams. Mm-hmm. Like Spencer Ware and Charkandrick West, they can each get about 500 yards in a season if they were to take the whole season. But Kareem Hunt can get you 1,300 yards in a season. And I think this is really going to hurt the Chiefs' offense in the long run. And like we've seen, they don't have a defense to fall back on.
That's what's going to hurt them, because they'll probably just score too fast now. They won't have anything to set up the play action, and that's going to affect Patrick Mahomes, because Mahomes thrives off that play action deep ball or anything towards the sideline, because he just guns it.
Yeah, RPOs, play action rollouts, those are dead now, basically.
Yeah. After last year, basically with Nick Foles, that's probably the last time I walked through.
Yeah,
effectively, at least.
Yeah. So, whenever Kareem Hunt gets another chance, because I'm pretty sure a player of his caliber, he'll most likely get a chance. He has a running back, so there's a risk that people are going to be like, well, it's an easily replaceable position, so they're not really worried about going out and getting Kareem Hunt, but chances are someone's going to bring him in. Who do you think that might be?
That's a tough question. There are a lot of teams that need him, and a lot of teams could be a lot better with him, but whenever you get down to the nitty-gritty parts, I feel like he would really fit in with Seattle because of how Pete Carroll's really good at giving other people second chances and really energizing and uplifting his team. I know they drafted the rookie Rashad Penny, and they have Chris Carson there as well, and they have a bunch of feature backs, but Seattle's been really lacking that run game ever since Marshawn Lynch left.
Yeah.
And the way I forget what their Seattle's OC's name is, but
I know who he is. I forget his name too.
He runs the ball more than anybody has ever ran the ball.
Yeah.
Some statistic gave that, but aside from that, they thrive on that. Marshawn Lynch in that Pete Carroll offense, they were Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah.
And
every year.
Yeah. After he left, they've really tanked, and it's all been on Russell Wilson. They really need that feature back, in my opinion. And I feel like that would give them the chance to really go to the Super Bowl again, despite not really being, per se, Super Bowl contenders like they were not supposed to be this year.
Yeah. Well, they either have to get a feature back or they have to let Russell Wilson throw the ball a little bit more. But, yeah, Kareem Hunt would be a great fit for them. And you said they run the ball a lot. They do, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's super effective when they're doing it. They're solid. They have solid backs, but they don't have a big play guy. They don't have a guy that you can go to 3 downs and get a first down every time. Kareem Hunt's that type of guy, and I think it would be a good fit schematically, but I'm not sure if the
personnel.
Well, I'm not sure that the front office would make a move like that in Seattle. That's another reason I don't think he'd go to the Ravens. They wouldn't make that move.
Ravens.
Yeah, that would be a good fit in my opinion too.
I said the Seahawks.
Yeah.
You said the Ravens.
Yeah.
We were just talking about the Seahawks trend.
Yeah. So, the Seahawks, I think it would be a good fit for him, but I don't think the front office would do that. The Ravens, I also think, would be a good fit for him, but same situation. I don't think the front office would do that there. I'm just trying to find somewhere that might take him on, front office wise, because it's not necessarily about schematic fit. You can put him anywhere and he's going to make plays for teams. It's just a matter of who's going to take him on.
Yeah.
And I really don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams could. You don't. it's hard with the NFL because in the
Yeah.
NFL you don't necessarily need a big name running back because
Right.
running backs emerge every year, and it's hard to predict who's really gonna blow up that hasn't already blown up.
Right. Yeah, you never know with NFL running backs. You can get, like we saw with Kareem Hunt, he was drafted like 5th round, I
Third
think.
round.
3rd round,
Yeah.
still later pick. Not someone you expect to produce at this level. He was drafted 3rd round, came into the league, instantly a Pro Bowler.
See, I was a fan of Kareem Hunt before the Vikings drafted Dalvin Cook. I was expecting them to go and take this guy because he was great at Toledo. He could return kicks, and he was a do-it-all back, like how Rashad Penny was at San Diego State. But Hunt's translated much better than what Penny has this year.
Right. Yeah, he's a very solid back, and he'll get another chance. I'm just not sure who's going to give it to him. All right, so now we're going to start talking about the big injuries around the league and to playoffs teams and how they can affect the teams going down the stretch, seeds, how if they could potentially affect the playoffs and everything that goes with the injuries.
Well, just today, it's being reported out of Broncos camp that Emmanuel Sanders tore his Achilles. That's going to be a big loss for them if he has, because Emmanuel Sanders, he's been the entire passing game, and they just got rid of Demaryius Thomas. That's a brutal blow to them.
Yeah, they don't really have much of an offense to be losing weapons. They don't have a great offense, and he's one of the only guys that's been, besides Philip Lindsay, that's been consistently a threat for them to make plays week in, week out.
Yeah. Now that you see that Emmanuel Sanders is gone, you have Case Keenum and a bunch of rookies around him now.
Yeah.
You look at Deshaun Hamilton's going to be in the starting role now. You're going to have Courtland Sutton. He's also a rookie. Philip Lindsay that you just talked about. He's a rookie.
Royce Freeman.
Yeah, Royce Freeman as well.
Jake Butt's a second-year player, but this is his first year really playing because of the injury last year.
Yeah. The Broncos, they lost so many close games this year, and it's been a tough season for them. And I wouldn't say that it's been anybody's fault. They just got the short end of the stick in a lot of games this year.
Yeah, they've had a season where the ball's just not rolling their way.
Yeah.
And if it had, you could be looking at a 2-3 loss team potentially.
Yeah, for sure. And it's surprising that Case Keenum is basically doing this without even putting up that good of numbers.
Yeah.
And I think that just goes to show you how well of a coach that Vance Joseph has been. And you can really attest to their success for any of the games that they've won to his coaching schematics, because wherever you don't really have any playmakers, you have Philip Lindsay and you had Sanders and you had Thomas, but whenever you lose a bunch of those weapons and you can go in and find schemes that work with the guys that you have, it shows a good coach, and it shows that your depth is pretty good.
Yeah, he's put them in a great position to win games week in, week out, and I think he deserves all the credit in the world for the positioning they're in. But whoever made the Demaryius Thomas decision, I never understood that. They were in the playoff contention when that trade was made, and it's going to really hurt them even more now. And I don't really get why the trade was made when it was made.
I feel like it was made because he is going to be making a boatload of salary after this year, and it's a bunch of guaranteed money that they don't need to pay an aging guy on the decline. Despite them having that playoff contention, I feel like that was a good move for them financially, because they'll have so much more money in the off season, and they were still in a position to win at the time.
Yeah, well, that money's not guaranteed until training camp starts, so I don't see why they couldn't have kept him through the season, let him be a key piece, and then replace him in the offseason, trade him early on, or just cut him early on.
I don't know. John Elway, I think he knows what he's doing more than what we know what he's doing.
Yeah.
So, who's the next guy that you wanted to talk about?
James Conner could be a big injury.
Yeah, I have James Conner on my fantasy team personally. He's been up and down this year, to say the least. He's been kind of inconsistent in my key matchups that I've had, but that's besides the point. Whenever they feed James Conner the ball, James Conner does exceptionally well at getting these tough, grimy yards and adding extra yards per carry. His yards per after contact is some insane number, and without him this week, I don't think it's gonna be that big of an issue because it's the Raiders.
Yeah.
But if this has any long-term effects,
Yeah, they never gave a timetable for this injury, which I think is a really interesting thing. because whenever I watch James Conner, it kind of reminds me, their offense kind of starts to remind me of like Jerome Bettis and that type of era. I'm not comparing them because Jerome Bettis is all-time great, but still, it kind of reminds me of that type of play style that they had then, and losing him is huge. You've already lost Le'Veon Bell for the year. Now you're relying on Jalen Samuels, who played tight end for NC State whenever he was in college just last year. Now he's playing running back for the Steelers.
Yeah. Well, it's the Raiders they're playing. I don't really expect them to have any struggles against the Raiders this week, but like I said, if this has any long-term effects, this could really hurt the Steelers' playoff chances, especially because they lost that terrible called game against the Chargers. They should have won that game, but we're not going to get into that until our pick'ems.
Yeah.
But with all that being said, they're going to need James Conner to come back, and he needs to come back healthy for the Steelers to have any key success in the future.
Yeah, hopefully for their sake, it's just a 1-2 week injury. He can come back and help that late playoff push, but I don't see them having any trouble with the Raiders.
Me either.
Personally, but not going to make my official prediction yet.
Yeah. Well, you know how the NFL is.
Yeah.
1 week you think the best team's going to win a game, they just go out and lose. Like the Bears.
Yeah. So, if it's a lingering thing that holds them out of the rest of the regular season, maybe even holds them out of a game to the playoffs, maybe he's not 100% starting the playoffs, this could be huge for the Steelers because they lost to the Chargers. They're not the number 1 seed. No one's really talking about them, but it's still the Pittsburgh Steelers. They still have a very solid defense. They've got players who've been there. They've got players who know what they're doing in the playoffs. And I think they're still contenders, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now, who's the last guy that you wanted to talk about?
We're going to talk about Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon, I also have him on my fantasy team. So
you're hurting for backs right now.
Yeah, and Emmanuel Sanders, he was on my fantasy team. So yeah, we're just basically talking about my fantasy
and you
team.
had Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I'm just yeah. If you're on my fantasy team, just expect to get injured.
Sounds like the Redskins.
I got you. But aside from that, Melvin Gordon, I mean, the Chargers last week against the Steelers, I mean, let's face it, they shouldn't have won that game.
No.
They got lucky, but it was more of attributed to the fact that Phillip Rivers really put the team on his back.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers, he's a great quarterback. He's always been a great quarterback. And he should have been able to have a chance with this type of season plenty times before. Front office kind of messed that up for him. But that's beside the point. We're talking about Melvin Gordon right now and his injury and how it's going to affect the Chargers season. He has a grade 2 MCL sprain, correct?
I don't remember.
He has a grade 1 or grade 2 MCL.
He could come back this week.
Yeah, he has a minor MCL sprain. He could be coming back this week, but he could be out for multiple weeks, and who knows when he's going to be 100%. I have the same type of thing to say that I said about James Conner. This was a huge injury. He's a huge part of their offense, and Justin Jackson played great last week. Austin Eckler, he's a good receiving back. So they should be able to replace the production, but they can't replace that big playability that Melvin Gordon gives them.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon, he's a do-it-all guy. He can catch out of the backfield and he can run for 90 yards straight up the middle if they really need him to, and to grind out a first down if they are in dire need of one. But the Chargers, without Melvin Gordon, they're a different team.
Yeah. That's
to say the least. And
they go back a little bit to the 2013 days where Phillip Rivers was throwing the ball 40 times, like Matt Stafford.
Yeah. But if the Chargers can get Melvin Gordon back healthy, they'll be fine. But for right now, I kind of worry about these upcoming games without.
Yeah. Because these are huge games for their seeding, and potentially even taking the AFC West with the Kareem Hunt situation and the Chiefs.
Yeah, they have to play again, and that game's going to basically be for the division, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're fighting for a 2 seed right now, and the Melvin Gordon injury could hold them back and really affect them in the long run.
Yeah, best wishes for all of you on the IR or out.
Yeah, and the second seed, it doesn't really help them with the home field advantage because they don't really have a home field advantage if we're being realistic. But it does help with that bye week. That's what they really need. They need to rest up. We've seen in the past the Chargers can rack up injuries better than anyone else in the league. And I think that bye week is going to be very crucial for their playoff success. And without Melvin Gordon, it's a little shaky whether they're going to be able to get that or not.
Yeah, I expect them to make the playoffs, despite this loss for right now, because their offense is just so good and their defense is pretty good too.
Yeah, they have a very talented team, also a Super Bowl contender. Who knows who's going to come out of the AFC now with the Kareem Hunt situation? That's a huge, huge Super Bowl affecting situation.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so still talking about injuries, we're going to go ahead and start talking about the Washington Redskins and how injuries have completely destroyed this team's season and any chances of the playoffs that they ever had.
I personally would like to hear your thoughts, just because you are a Redskins fan.
Well, the injuries have been really bad for the second year in a row. Last year, our whole offensive line was decimated with injuries all year long. It's that, again, times two. Lost 2 quarterbacks so far, as everyone knows. We're on our 5th and 6th string cornerbacks. We have a 3rd string linebacker in. We have backup defensive lineman in. It's just, I don't know what's going on with the team. Maybe it's something with the training staff. Maybe it's something with the strength and conditioning coach. I don't know. But nonetheless, it's another bad season. It's another wasted year. Got Mark Sanchez in. And I want to start by talking about the incompetence of the front office. Okay, so going into the game, we lost Casanova McKenzie last week to torn pectoral muscle.
Who's that?
He's our backup outside linebacker. Now, this isn't a big deal as far as the game goes, but the fact is we didn't put him on IR until after the game yesterday. We went into the game yesterday with a 52-man roster. Now, that's not a huge difference because that guy wasn't going to get in the game anyways, but the fact that you go into a game knowing that you only have 52 guys on the roster, that's unacceptable in my opinion. Like, what are you saying about the Redskins? The front office, it's completely incompetent. Bruce Allen needs to go. Since he's been with the team in 2009, it's been bad choice after bad choice after bad choice. Whether that's coming from Dan Snyder, as Bruce Allen is kind of his yes man. They kind of, are there together. They work together.
Bud buddies, yeah.
Yeah, they do everything together. And those two you can really put all of failures on.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. Mostly. And I want Jay Gruden gone because he's shown time and time again that he's incompetent. It's not about the record. It's more about, because the injuries we've had, obviously Alex Smith broke his leg. You can't control that. Colt McCoy, he then broke his leg. You can't control these type of injuries. You can't control that we're on our 5th and 6th string cornerbacks.
You can't predict.
You
can't predict injuries. Yeah, I understand what you're trying to say.
But the schematics and the lack of control of the team, DJ Stranger talks about every single week how the team just looks sloppy, just look bad through practice. They look unfocused. The defensive coordinator's talking about he can't get the defensive guys to focus more than 50 minutes, which is ridiculous. A high school class is 50 minutes. You can't get professional athletes to focus that long.
Grown men, to say the least.
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. There's no excuse for that.
I agree.
You have 6-year-olds who go to school for 6 hours, and you can't get these guys to focus for 50 minutes on something they're supposed to love and care about. That there's no excuse for that. And as far as talent and effort from the players, we have the talent to be a fringe playoff team, and everyone seems to care except for Josh Norman. He just seems like he got the money.
He's
it's
done.
whatever.
Yeah, he's just going out there and doing his job.
Yeah. He's not giving effort.
Yeah.
And Clinton Dix, he's fine. We traded a 3rd-round pick for him. I'm not mad about it. He's not a Pro Bowler, but he's fine.
He's a solid starter. He's a 3-and-D in the NBA.
Yeah, basically. But just incompetence from the head coaching position. You don't make adjustments. You don't script plays correctly. We haven't scored on a first half drive or second half. Not half drive. The first drive in a half in 3 years.
Yeah, that's horrible. And that can go to effort. That can go to schematics. That can go to your own, I don't even know, your own thoughts about what you're gonna do. Whatever Jay Gruden's thinking is horrible. He needs to be gone. Dan Snyder, you're not gonna win a Super Bowl under Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder, Jay Gruden, any of these guys in the front office, in my opinion, and that's really it's gonna take some time. Yeah, unfortunately.
I think we could win a Super Bowl under Dan Snyder if he would just take a step back and get his nose out of the football. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's doing as far as the football element of owning the Washington Redskins goes, because there's a business element, there's a marketing element. He understands what he's doing there. Obviously, he has all this money for a reason. He knows what he's doing there. But as far as the football element of owning the Washington Redskins, he's incompetent, and that's where it starts. Is he's putting his nose in it. Bruce Allen's his yes man. Doug Williams kind of has to let Bruce Allen do his thing. That's above his head. Jay Gruden, he can't really make the roster moves that he needs to make, but that doesn't, again, that's not my reasoning for wanting him gone. My reasoning for wanting him gone is everything we just mentioned. He's not detail oriented, doesn't get the players to give full effort and focus during practices. He's on his third defensive coordinator that has failed, and it's not a good situation.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, it's incompetence from the head down. Our quarterback situation is terrible as far as quarterbacks we have on our roster currently. None of them are going to be able to play until the preseason because Mark Sanchez, God forbid we bring him back. Josh Johnson, he's got other things he's doing. He's going to the AAF, and it's not good. So we're going to have to bring in a camp arm, someone maybe like Colin Kaepernick. Maybe not Colin Kaepernick, but just wanted to make a point. He's a better option than Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, obviously.
But bring in a veteran camp arm, draft a rookie, let him take control. Just give him the offense. Cut our camp arm by the time Colt McCoy's healthy. By the time Alex Smith is healthy, cut Colt McCoy. Just let Alex Smith be the backup. Can't get out of his contract until 2020 anyways. Josh Norman, he needs cut. Jay Gruden, he needs fired. We need a new coach. And let Doug Williams take control of the roster. Let Bruce Allen deal with the media because Dan Snyder, he's not going to get rid of him. Our only hope is that he lets Doug Williams completely control the roster and just has Bruce Allen be the face. Just let him be the face. Let him talk to the media. He's good at that. He can control the media pretty well. Bruce Allen, that's his ability. Dan Snyder, his ability is the business aspect. They have their positives, but when they're pushing too much into the football aspect, that's where everything gets to where we are right now.
And unfortunately, Trent, I don't see this changing until, like I said, until Dan Schneider's gone, until ownership's gone, because ownership really controls the entire team, and that's what's hurting me. Because Washington, it's a good free agent destination. It's in a high profile division, even though it's not been the greatest this year. It has its up and downs, and it has a great fan base. So you're gonna have to wait, unfortunately, in my opinion, until you find some guys that know what they're doing well enough and can just get the job done the way a football organization needs to be run.
One guy I want to look at bringing in for a head coaching job would be Pete Carmichael Jr. That's the Saints offensive coordinator. He's been learning under Sean Payton since 2006. I think he might be able to bring something that the Redskins haven't seen in a very long time to the team. He's going to bring a new offense, varied offense, kind of hopefully what the Saints can do or have close to it. I want to go to the draft and say, look, who reminds you the most of Drew Brees? Draft that guy and just build the offense, because right now you need an offense. And I want him to bring somebody who can be a competent defensive coordinator. We haven't had that in so long. It's ridiculous. Maybe a Todd Bowles if he gets canned. I doubt he'll want to come to Washington, but who knows? He'll have plenty of job offers. But just somebody who can get the job done. And Pete Carmichael Jr., he seems like a guy who can kind of reshape the offense and hopefully try to bring some stability. He understands what stability is. Like I said, he's been with the Saints learning under Sean Payton since 2006. That's 12 years. He's been the offensive coordinator for them since 2009. And he's watched Drew Brees since he was drafted in 2004, correct? And he was the offensive quality control assistant for the Chargers from 04 to 06. Then from 06 to 09, he was the Saints quarterback coach and offensive quality control. 09 to now, he's the offensive coordinator. And in 2001, before he went to the Chargers, he was the Redskins offensive quality control coordinator.
You might have to wait until Drew Brees retires.
Might have to.
Then maybe the luck will start turning around. But until then, God bless.
Yeah. But he seems to be a good guy to bring in. I don't know. I'm just
speculating.
I'm just hoping we bring in somebody. Just somebody new that can bring some stability and create an offense that can sustain itself for the next at least 5 years.
Yep, I agree. Well,
All right, so we're gonna wrap up by talking about your Minnesota Vikings and their chances of making the playoffs and making noise in the playoffs after this loss against the Patriots.
well, there's a lot to be said about the Minnesota Vikings right now. The offense, it's boring, it's plain, it's old school, it's
Not as advertised.
it's you can guess to what they're gonna do before every play. You know where the ball is gonna go, and you know who's gonna get the ball. There's a lot to be said, but to make this very brief, just to get to the point, Mike Zimmer, he's an overachieving head coach that should be a defensive coordinator. John DeFilippo, you're not a head coach candidate, in my opinion. You can't call plays. You came over here from Philly to try and do the Philly thing. This isn't Philly. Then you got Mike Prefer, the special teams coordinator. You're playing the Patriots. It's probably one of the biggest games of the season. Go out for a field goal. Everybody's out there except the holder. What are you doing that is more important than getting your field goal unit out on the field?
You guys didn't have the holder out?
Yeah.
I didn't watch the game. You said about you didn't watch the Redskins game. I didn't watch the Patriots game, so I don't have much to comment on that.
It was we were down 14. No, we were down 10. It was either 10 or 14. We finally get a drive going. We're in field goal range. And by the time Matt Weil gets out there, our holder and our punter, there's 8 seconds to get the snap off. So Dan Bailey, he's not prepared, and he's been struggling this year. Whatever Mike Prefer's done, he's ruined our kicking game. He's ruined our special teams units. They're unamusing. There's no fire with this team anymore. Last year was totally different team. Last year the team had fire, had aspirations, had hope, had somebody to play behind, like Case Keenum. He gave him that fire. Kirk Cousins, I can't say anything this year has really been his fault. The only thing that I really fault him for this year is holding the ball too long.
Yeah.
But he's done that his entire career. Everywhere he's been, he's held the ball for a little too long. And the reason this team isn't doing as well as it needs to be is because of Rick Spielman. Rick Spielman, he needs to be. Your reputation in Minnesota right now, it's tarnished. You have Super Bowl aspirations for this team. You go out and sign Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is supposed to be the next transcendent quarterback for this team, the next franchise quarterback, the guy that really plant the flag and get the ship rolling for the next few years. You know what you do? You go out in the draft, whatever. You know your offensive line isn't going to be as great as it was last year because you had Joe Berger retire. You had guard issues. You had Mike Remmers, who's getting old. You got all this crap on the offensive line. You got one young, nice piece, but he hasn't been playing great, Pat Alcorn. You go in the draft, there's plenty of guards available, and you go out and you draft a corner. Now that's inexcusable. We had plenty of depth at corner. We could have got a veteran guy to come in and play that role, that play in the slot. Because we have 2 good, solid corners out there. And you know what? You go out there and you ruin it.
Or if you really liked that cornerback, you should have found somebody in free agency that could protect the quarterback.
And Rick Spielman, you didn't address any of those needs. You got Sheldon Richardson. Cool. He's been great. Cool. But what else did you do in free agency? You let most everybody go. You got Kirk and Sheldon. I mean, they've both been nice pieces, but they've been pretty picks. Let's face it. There's been no fundamentals with this team over the past few years. Offensive line's killed us. And it's incompetence. It is strictly incompetence by Rick Spielman. And Rick Spielman, all you care about anymore is what's going to really excite the public. You know what? You need to start saying screw the public and do what the team needs. Because Mike Zimmer, you can't always fulfill his needs because all he's ever going to want is defense. And that's why we need to get a new head coach. We need to get a new GM. If we keep Mike Zimmer, keep him as the DC. I'll be fine with that because he's great defense coordinator. He's great under Bill Parcells. He's learned so much over the years. And with this day and age, your offense needs to be pretty high octane,
Yeah.
and it needs to have an element of surprise.
So you're calling for a clean house, correct?
I'm fine with Mike Zimmer, but as a head coach,
You got to get a GM that will stick up with him and get the needs rather than what the head coach wants.
yeah, the GM needs Brick Spielman. You need to start acting like your own person, because right now, you're Mike Zimmer's.
It's Mike Zimmer's yes man.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
There's not much to say with this team. It's been very disappointing, and I mean, there's not really much else to really expect from this team anymore. It's just disappointment, because you go out and you got a new stadium, you have all these flashy guys, but you don't have a solid core of guys to protect those flashy people, and that's really been a tank situation.
yeah, you said about Kirk Cousins. He's not really hurting the team, and the only problem is him holding on to the ball. I agree with that. He's not a guy that's going to hurt the team, but as a guy that you want to be your franchise quarterback, there are some plays that he doesn't make that he needs to make,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I agree with
And
that.
there's some throws he should be able to make with that type of money that he can't make, and I put that on the GM as well. And like you said about the special teams, the few games that I have watched of the Vikings, their special teams has been extremely bad, and you're giving up all those hidden yards announcers like to talk about. They're always talking about the hidden yards on special teams, and that's a real thing. You really can affect a game with the special teams, and when your special teams is bad, it will hurt the team and make the team bad.
Yeah, your special teams unit really sets up the field position. And football in the NFL is strictly field position. If you win the field position battle, you're probably going to win the game.
Yeah.
And right now, we can't do that. Everything's disorganized. There's no fight in this team. I think of this team as the 2016 Vikings. You start out really well. You have all these high aspirations to go and do something, and you just go and you crap the bed. That's what you've done this year. You've crapped the bed. If you don't get this win in Seattle, there's needs to be some serious changes, because this team had high Super Bowl aspirations.
Yeah.
You went out and signed a quarterback with all this money and basically screwed for the rest of the future just for this year.
Yeah.
And you can't go all in with no offensive line to protect that guy, because right now you go out and you go and draft a tackle in the second round. We already had 2 starting tackles. Why do you need another tackle for?
Right. Yeah. So, in my opinion, on the defensive side of the ball, you have the schematics and you have the players to be an elite defense. I don't know that it's necessarily been an elite defense this year. I'm not really familiar with the stats. It's been average defense, kind of.
The third down it's transition, but
Mhm.
it's been a higher middle of the pack team.
Yeah, so you have a solid defense overall, and a lot of the problems, if you're going to give a guy like Kirk Cousins that type of money, you need to bring in somebody that can work with Kirk Cousins and put him on the next level, because from the Redskins to the Vikings, he's taken a step back and a pay raise, and to me that doesn't make sense. And I think most of your attention needs to be on John DeFilippo, and I don't think Rick Spielman's a GM who needs to grow some balls
Yeah.
and do what the team needs him to do.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He's had some decent drafts
Mhm.
that's gotten us this far.
Yeah.
And those late round picks have really hit home, but you're not going to make those late round picks every year consistently, and that really hurts the team.
Yeah,
I mean,
Mike Zimmer, he's a guy that I think can be a Super Bowl winning head coach, but he needs that secondary piece to control the offense and put the offense in the best position available, because with guys on the outside like Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen and Kyle Rudolph and Dalvin Cook as your running back, there's no reason this is not a top 5 offense in the league right now. And Kirk Cousins, he's a quarterback who isn't going to create plays for you, but he can make all the plays that you need him to make, that you design a play for somebody to make. When you design a play, you don't make it designed to where the quarterback has to pull everything out of his sleeve and make a huge play every single play. You don't design it like that.
Yeah.
You design it to be a simple play. So you just need an offensive coordinator who can make him or let him make the simple plays. And I think a lot of the failures this season come on John DeFilippo. I think some of the defensive struggles might be able to go on John DeFilippo, 3 and outs, and just general weak offense and your special teams, that could have an effect on it. So if you really want to turn around this team, I think the special teams coordinator and the offensive coordinator, they both need to be out. And maybe a guy like Jay Gruden, if we let him go, he could help that out. Mike McCarthy, he could probably help that out. There's plenty of guys who can do that, but it's a matter of whether Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer are going to go ahead and pull the trigger and let go of John DeFilippo, who has all the great media around him, but not necessarily results.
Yeah. See, I was a big fan of bringing in John DeFilippo because I saw how the Eagles' offense looked. I thought that's how our offense was going to look and look very like fun and like different.
Yeah.
But it's
hasn't
nothing
really
like it.
brought that.
It's nothing like it. It's completely different from what I saw.
It's not as advertised at all.
No, and for the playoff chances, it's if you don't get this win in Seattle, your season's most likely done unless other teams lose, and God forbid whenever other teams lose, the Vikings lose, just like last week and any other time, because whenever the stars align perfectly, the Vikings shoot off.
Yeah.
They go right off and make the wrong decisions, and in the off season, John DeFilippo is going to have to go. And Rick Spielman, you need to get prepared to handle the adversity that's going to come with these finances, because these finances aren't going to work, and you're going to have to cut guys. And this has probably been the last chance to have a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, Andrew Sandejo, he's probably going to have to be gone. You might have to let
It'll be fine.
Sheldon Richardson walk. Everson Griffin, he might be a guy to cut.
I'd rather cut.
You'd rather cut Everson Griffin than let Sheldon Richardson walk?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not looking great for the Vikings this season. I think they can still turn things around within the next 3 years, but if you don't have it within then, it's over for this era.
This, to me, the game on Monday night is going to seal the Vikings' fate for the next few years, because if we don't get this win, we're going to be a mediocre team for the next few years. We're going to be incompetent at head coach, offensive coordinator, defense, special teams, unless there's changes in the offseason. If there's no changes in the offseason, and if we don't make it to the playoffs this year, really, the Vikings franchise will be a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I think you guys have a 3-year window as long as Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer can make that tough decision to let John DeFilippo go.
Oh, he's going to go anyways.
You do believe that?
Yeah, I feel like he's going to get a head coaching job somewhere, because somebody's going to believe in him, even though it's 4th and 11 and we're running a 2-yard slant.
Yeah,
against the Patriots and we're down 2 touchdowns.
It's been a very average offense, and that's not what you need to be a Super Bowl contender in the NFC right now.
John DeFilippo, he doesn't know how to run the ball. He doesn't know how to get creative, and he has no element of surprise.
Yeah, it's not great.
So
Is that all you have for the Vikings?
That's all I have for the Vikings, and we got to get this win Monday night. Well, guys, that concludes NFL news, Vikings and Redskins playoffs, and future aspirations.
And injuries and Kareem Hunt, Mike McCarthy, everything we talked about.
Yep. Like and subscribe. Comment if you really want to.
Share the video
with all your friends and family.
Yep. And come watch another mediocre podcast next time we post.